My name is Nikia Miller, and I'm a product of Hampton City Schools, graduating from Kickingham High School in 1998. The Monday before schools let out for pandemic leave last year was the worst day of my life. I was informed by the leadership at my daughter Celeste's elementary school that she had been sexually assaulted by another student. To compound this, I was told that she had been assaulted multiple times over a period of 2 years. To say that this information devastated my family is a vast understatement. We as a family have rallied around my daughter to provide her comfort and strength as she navigates this rough road. Her sweet spirit has been dampened with several panic attacks a week. She's scared to go to the school bathroom and is timid as her assaulter told her that if she told on her, they would kill me. From being Celeste's support, past trauma that I have experienced has been re-aggravated, and we both attend therapy. My expectation was that Hampton City Schools would do whatever was needed in order to provide Celeste with whatever it was that she needed. Boy, was I ever wrong. From the point that this was transferred from Tyler Elementary to the school administration, Hampton City Schools has shown me how much they are not concerned with my daughter's welfare. From the beginning, what was requested from HCS were relatively low lifts. We asked that Celeste be placed at the school of our family's choice. HCS refused. We asked for the assurances that Celeste and her rapist not be at the same school ever again, and that Celeste be given priority. And finally, we asked that HCS pay the therapy costs for not only Celeste, but for myself as her support. Hampton City Schools refused all of our requests, with the exception of being willing to pay $15 a week for Celeste's therapy, which at first they said we should be happy with receiving counseling from the guidance counselor at her school. We were assured that HCS would make sure that the student who did this to Celeste would receive appropriate discipline for what they had done to her, but HCS used COVID as a crutch to not do so, to the point where Celeste's attacker is currently in the same class as her cousin. Excuse me. Celeste is in a new school, but only because of the advocacy of her parents, not by Hampton City Schools acting on her behalf. On the day that I found out about these assaults, I had a face-to-face conversation with one of the members of the school board in hopes that by doing so, I would have an advocate on the board who would advocate on Celeste's behalf. I realize now that that conversation was a waste, as time and time again, the school board, through their attorney, have put as many roadblocks as possible in the way to make my daughter whole. The level of disappointment, frustration, and no confidence that I have in Hampton City Schools is palpable. How could a school system that provided me with such a good education be willing to dismiss my daughter's sexual assaults that occurred on their watch? The consistent communications from the Hampton School Board have been that HCS has no responsibility for protecting my children. Your attorney communicated to me, and I quote, "Even if your client is seen in the most favorable light, the Hampton School Board nor any of its employees have any liability." Then the communications concluded with that out of good faith, you'll pay for Celeste's therapy, but only if she remains a student in Hampton City Schools. So basically, my family should be satisfied by $15 a week after Celeste was repeatedly sexually assaulted on school property. A small fraction of the money that Hampton City Schools receives for every student from the Commonwealth, even though her trauma will extend well into adulthood. Per Hampton City Schools policy, if my daughter had been fighting on school property, on the bus, or before she hit my steps, Hampton City Schools would be able to suspend or expel my child. But when she is repeatedly raped on school property, HCS has no responsibility. How, under any circumstance, will my child feel safe when HCS can't even commit to keeping my child and her rapist out of the same school? HCS can make robocalls every time there is a COVID exposure, but couldn't make a robocall to say there's been a sexual assault on campus, the families of the students involved have been notified, and we are cooperating with local law enforcement to Tyler families. There is a sexual predator currently at Tyler Elementary School, and the school board is not concerned about that at all.
Ms. Miller,
whose child will be next?
It's been 5 minutes. Can you please wrap up?
As a parent, this is the greatest conflict within me. My academically amazing student has been irrevocably broken by the neglect of Hampton City Schools, and no one on this body cares. If each and every one of you cannot care about the sexual assault of students on your watch, then maybe you don't need to be on the school board. Maybe you need to be replaced. Abide by your credo. Every child, every day, whatever it takes.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Our next speaker this evening, and I'm not sure I can read the spelling, it's Akeelan? Akeelan.
Hello, my name is Celeste Miller, and I'm currently a student in Hampton City Schools. I didn't find out about what happened to my sister until hours after my plane from California landed in Norfolk, and I had unpacked and settled in at home. And to say I was shocked is an understatement. I myself used to be a student at John Tyler Elementary, and to me, as a 5 or 6-year-old little girl at the time, and to many friends I still have to this day, it was a fun place and a safe place because it's a school, and it's a place where I spent a little bit of my younger, more innocent years. My little sister Celeste didn't get innocent years at all. Instead, her years at Tyler and in the care of Hampton City Schools have been filled with her being sexually assaulted, and she will have to live with that. Until she's probably until she's a grown adult. That fact being stated, Hampton City Schools have done absolutely nothing to ease that pain, or at least do better for her future. My mother has asked simple things of Hampton City Schools. Number 1, that she be moved to a different school. If not, then number 2, the assaulter and Celeste will never be in the same school again. Number 3, my sister's therapy as well as my mom's gets paid for, all of which have been denied by Hampton City Schools except for the therapy for Celeste. Which, by the way, my mom was told that she should basically be glad Hampton City Schools will even do that for her. Celeste is now enrolled at Tucker Caps Elementary, no thanks to Hampton City Schools, because my mom had to fight for that to even happen. This entire situation has made me feel unsafe, even as a freshman in high school. As a sister, I'm scared this could happen to my sister in another environment, and Hampton City Schools will once again do nothing to help her. As a girl in a Title I area, I'm scared that Hampton City Schools are doing nothing because they believe my nuclear family won't do anything in retaliation because we are scared. We are not, and we won't give up on Celeste. I'm worried as an actual bisexual female that there is a real possibility someone could try to do this to me, and Hampton City Schools won't help me or might say she wanted it. School board members, I want you to ask yourselves, how would you feel if this happened to your child, niece, nephew, or even your sibling? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker this evening is Craig Knopp.